welcome to News on 6 at 6. The King's wedding with Marie Antoinette of Austria has just begun.
Wow.
This will be his first time meeting with his bride. The wedding will be attended by many of the nobles and royals of the country. Next, we will be learning about what the people's opinion of King Louis XVI is. To you, Joseph.
Yes, I have interviewed many people on the streets of France, and they all conclude that King Louis is not a good king. All he does is spend time indulging himself in the Palace of Versailles, away from the people of Paris. I do not agree with that. What are your takes on this, Diego?
I think that he is a disgrace and does not care for the middle and lower class of his country.
Yes.
Thank you. Now we will cut to our statistics analyst expert, Grant Calvert.
The taxes that the nobility, who made up 2% of France's population, imposed allowed them to live extravagant lives while the other 98% were suffering and starving.
Yes, that is very sad. While this is happening in the streets of France, there are many new thinkers, like Rousseau, Voltaire. They are all contributing to the government so that the bottom people and peasants do not have to live in such filth, and that they can have luxury as the nobles and clergy do. Diego.
Also, the Estates General has convened for the first time in over 100 years. They're discussing taxes under the order of the king. So far, they have decided to tax the nobles and higher class, but rumor is that the movement will be stopped by the king, because even though he ordered this, he does not like what they are talking about. I think that this decision should be made. There should be taxation according to income and not status. I would also like for the king to simplify his life and work for the people of his country. Also, furthermore, I think that the voting at the Estates General must change in order to be fair, because no matter how many people are in each estate only gets one equal vote. The clergy and nobles often vote on the similar idea, so the third estate will always be outvoted.
I do not agree with that.
Today, the National Assembly formed and created the Tennis Court Oath. This is helping us with rights, and it's a very good thing because it's helping us to create rights, because they didn't want to allow us to be in with them when they were creating new laws. So now this is a good thing for us when it comes to rights, and we're hoping that through this we are able to make a stand for ourselves and get better rights. And through this, we hope that the future of France, we can become more of a bigger part of France, the middle class and lower class. So it's not just such a class system, but so that we can all become together. And with us today, the people of Paris stormed the Bastille, and violence is now spreading all over the countryside. We hope with them storming the Bastille, the government will understand how angry we are with how they've been treating us, and that many things will change along with this. This is helping us because now we hope that these people, the clergy and the nobles, will understand that we are not happy with our current positions, and that they will give us a better life instead of just living such a lavish lifestyle as we live in horrors and just in poverty. Today, the National Assembly ended feudalism and issued the Declaration of the Rights of Man. They have stated that the power belongs to the people, and they have taken the power for themselves. They also demanded for a constitutional monarchy. This is quite good for us because now we are gaining rights, as they have clearly stated that the power belongs to the people, and that helps us because now we have gained rights. And with this new rule, the clergy must take on an oath to the state before the church. And this is quite upsetting for the lower class, as many of them live very closely to the church, while many of the middle class, like ourselves, don't really care because it really doesn't affect us, because we don't live so much by the church as they do. And it's also kind of damages the relationship between the church and the National Assembly, because they're now being separated. So yeah, that's kind of affecting the relationship between them. But this is pretty good for us because now we're not forced to live by the church. So on to you, Grant.
We have also just received word that the Parisian women have stormed Versailles, and they have massacred all their guards. However, their mission to kill Marie Antoinette has failed, as she was able to escape to Louis's apartments in time. Oh, yeah. Okay, so, now that the National Assembly has adopted a constitution, the nobles cannot be too happy, because the power is now in the hands of the people. France is finally becoming a democracy.
Breaking news! The new Legislative Assembly has moved to Paris, and they have declared war on Austria. Viva la Revolution! And I have gotten sources that tell me the treacherous King Louis XVI and his family have escaped from their palace. But luckily, they were caught by some people in a small French town near Austria, where the king and his family were heading. Diego?
Also, the Austrian leaders have issued the Declaration of Pillnitz, which we have been given access to. It is right here. And it is trying to prevent the people from attacking the king and queen. Because it says right here that if the people do attack the royal family, Austria will go to war with us. Those Austrians have some nerve.
Oh, yeah.
Furthermore, the people have captured and imprisoned the king despite the preventions from the Austrians. It's official. The monarchy is over and the republic has been established.
Yes!
This is a great victory for the people. Also, all men have voting rights and equal opportunities.
Today, September massacres occurred. Many of the middle class and peasants started killing off many of the nobles and some of the people from the prisons. These killings are quite aggressive, but we hope that they will further our revolutionary goal of becoming a free country and getting rid of the monarchy. And this is really killing most of the current governments. This isn't really helping us really politically or socially, but it is getting us closer to becoming a free state and getting away from the control of monarchies. And with that, King Louis was executed. Through this, the government is now in ruins because their leader is dead, and this is getting us closer to our new government and the revolution we are wanting. And this is good for the middle class and lower class, as now we're becoming closer to having the revolution and being more of a society instead of just a society based on classes. And with that, so it's pretty bad for the clergy and nobles though, but it's helping us out quite a lot by Louis' execution and the September massacres.
The ruthless Jacobins and the more poor members of society that make up the Sans-Culottes arrested the Girondist leaders. These leaders believed that the suffering had become too much, and then they formed the Committee of Public Safety that had no problem with executing anyone that they saw a threat to the revolution. Also, remember Marie Antoinette? Her oh-so-perfect life is not very perfect anymore. She has just been arrested, and she's imprisoned and accused of many things. She is now broken, and when she was once beautiful, she now looks much older than her real age of 38, and she is sentenced to death by the guillotine.
You get what you get. It is apparent that Robespierre, the leader of the Reign of Terror, has gone crazy. He is executing almost 800 people per month, spreading fear throughout all of Paris. That is more than 26 people executed per day. He is even sentencing his former colleagues, such as Danton and his followers, to the guillotine.
I don't care. Sure. Okay. I don't know. No.
Buy Ball Blast on the App Store.
The Reign of Terror has finally ended. We no longer have to fear death by the guillotine for everything that we may say. You may be asking, what ended this Reign of Terror? Simple. The answer is the death of one of its fathers, Maximilien Robespierre. This all occurred when the Incorruptible announced that he had a list of traitors, but would not read out the names that were on it. So then he was swiftly accused of treason and taken to the capital. After a failed suicide attempt, Maximilian Robespierre was left with a broken jaw, and then was soon put to death by the metal of the guillotine. So it seems as if the incorruptible died corrupted. Soon after his death, the Directory made a new constitution so that this would never occur again. Thank you.
Breaking news, Napoleon has taken over France in a coup d'etat. It was a peaceful takeover, and it seems that Napoleon will be a very good leader. He is focusing on education and has named himself the first consul. I have just been told that the plebiscite of 1800 has made Napoleon consul for life. This is very good because he is now promoting equality and combines new liberal ideas with the old conservative ideas. Napoleon's reforms include law code and agreement with churches to make a more peaceful relationship between these two institutions.
Interesting.
Yes. So his Napoleonic Code has made some divisions between men and women, such as fathers being granted access over children. Also, the code forbids labor unions. To you, Joseph.
Yes, Napoleon has been running rampant through Europe, destroying every army, from the Austrian army to the Netherlands, to the Swiss army. He has been winning many battles, like the Battle of Austerlitz, in which his French troops of 68,000 were outnumbered sorely by the enemy troops of 90,000.
Yes.
He has also lost a few battles, like the Battle of Trafalgar, in which the Spanish and French Navy were fighting against the British Navy. The British Navy was an unstoppable force and destroyed 19 of our ships. But we have to keep looking forward to the future, and so that we can finally win this revolution.
The Peninsular War that had started out with France and Spain being allies we've just received word that France has decided to turn on Spain.
Yes.
And Napoleon has placed his brother Joseph on the throne. This is not very smart of Napoleon because he will probably lose this fight. He's superior on land, but him against all of his enemies, including Prussia, Russia, Great Britain, Portugal, and now Spain,
I hate him.
will not end very well for them. France's tactics will probably not compare to all these countries, and they will lose.
Today, Napoleon has taken his grand army of 600,000 men into Russia. As he did this, Alexander retreated, burning everything during his retreat. Napoleon was able to stay for only 5 weeks before retreating due to the fact that everything had been burned. He was not able to get any food. During the retreat, the Battle of Les Pigs occurred, and his army was cut to pieces, and he abandoned his troops and ran back to Paris. During the meeting of the Congress of Vienna, he escaped and then returned. Met by Louis the 18th's troops, who abandoned Louis to join Napoleon. He marched through France, and the people in France kept joining him along his way. Louis fled Vienna, and then England sent the Duke of Wellington to meet Napoleon as he marched. The Duke of Wellington met him at Waterloo, and Prussia then came in to help the Duke of France. Napoleon was defeated and exiled for the last time to St. Helena.
We have just received word that the first Congress of Vienna meeting is being held. In this meeting, there will be discussion on how to end the Napoleonic Wars and bring peace to Europe. Obviously, we need to restore Europe after the chaos Napoleon brought it. Royal families may need to regain power for this peace to be arrived and achieved. There needs to be a balance of power throughout Europe. France's dominance only fed hunger for power. This balance needs a form of treaty between the countries to prevent this violence from continuing.
Next, we will learn about what the peasants' opinion of King Louis XVI is. To you, Joseph.
Hello, I am Joseph. So, okay, I can't do that. We'll cut it out later. Yes, that is very sad. While the people are hungry, on the streets and don't have bread. The nobles are just sitting in their castles and
My feet are cold now.
Oh yeah.
Maximilian Robespierre. This all occurred when the incorruptible announced he had a list of traitors, but would not read them out so that he. The success did not continue for much longer because he lost sorely at the Battle of Trafalgar. So Napoleon, shut up! I was actually doing 90,000 enemy troops. He also has lost some battles, like the Battle of Trafalgar, which he was outnumbered at sea by the Spanish and French Navy were fighting against the British Navy, and he has taken down the Australians. He has cut through the Netherlands. He has destroyed the Swiss army, and he has won the Battle of Austerlitz, even though he only had 68,000 men compared to the enemy's 90,000. But we cannot say this good news continued, because in the Battle of Trafalgar, Napoleon and the French and the Spanish Navy were fighting against the British Navy. The Spanish and French Navy took 19 ships, died.